let's be honest. How often have you shared a message, an idea with someone where you didn't check in with yourself before? Where you felt not responsible for the way you speak? This happens to all of us, right? It's because we feel there is nothing attached to that. We feel not responsible because we feel everyone else needs to deal with their own kind of baggage. And I agree to that to a certain point. Because understanding that sharing a message, sharing an idea of what we want to create always brings the responsibility with it on what we are sharing. And I don't mean to share an authentic, compassionate idea, exploration towards someone else that is going to shake up someone else's world. I don't mean that part. I mean that part where we are sharing something that we haven't internally prepared us for. I mean those conversations that we are just dumping towards others because it just came into our mind, right? We didn't discover what that actually means. How is that signal to be presented towards someone else? And is it actually serving someone else in their highest good? What we are doing is we are sharing what we think right away, without thinking that this may have an impact towards someone else and towards yourself. Because we are constantly creating our own world. And with that said, it means it's so powerful that we can change literally the other person's world and our world within a few seconds. You see? So taking ownership of what we are sharing is super, super crucial. Because we are creating something all the time. Our words are way more powerful than you may think. We can walk in a room and share something that is super uplifting or that is really, really densing the energy in the room. We can start to be inspiring for other people, or we can lower it really, really easily, right? And that's the lack so many people don't see or don't understand. They just feel, well, I'm just sharing something and it's on you how you're taking it. And I totally agree to a certain amount, right? When we are in such a pain, we are just sharing and trying to release our own pain, our own hurt. And this is why many, many people are sharing their hurt without recognizing what they're doing. They don't see how much they impact someone else because they feel, well, I'm in so much pain, I cannot hold you. But you see, there is a mistake in the whole process. The mistake is that we have not gone inwards and we have not checked in what it is that actually really makes us feel that way. And that itself is, I feel, oftentimes making loops, right? Sharing information with other people, not understanding that we are just giving out that information. And yes, sometimes it transforms a hell lot. But oftentimes, we are actually replicating the same things over and over again. We are doing it again. We are not seeing that our internal world needs to change before we can actually share the message, before we can start to create something new. We need to understand it here. And if our pain is so big that we are just sharing our pain without recognizing that I cannot just dump my emotions towards someone else. I need to take ownership on how I feel and why I am in this situation. And no, this doesn't mean you need to take on blame. This is not about blame. This is about learning to take ownership of your life, because that brings you into a sovereign being. And from that sovereignty, you are able to create a life that you actually truly desire. And if we are moving together in that same way, we are creating a world that is actually so different to what we are seeing right now, right? Where everyone else feels separate and sharing something, but there is no connection, because in the sharing of this really energy of hurt, of pain, and we are dumping that, that's not really creating any long connection. It's creating some sort of I want to move away from that person because that person is not taking ownership. Have you ever shared a really difficult story, but you felt so much in pain, and you were sharing that and the person never got back to you again? And then you're feeling in pain because that person kind of rejected you. You feel rejected. But you see, it's not really a rejection. It's a mirror of what you are doing to yourself. And when we start to understand that, when we start to see that I don't accept my own inner wounds, I'm trying to pull them outwards, I'm trying to give them to you, and that person says, well, no, that's not for me, and moves away, and you're kind of, why aren't you taking my stuff? I mean, and I'm not making fun of you at all. This is seriously what most of us have learned, right? And then we open up to something like this because we feel like, well, if I'm sharing something, help will come. And that's true, but we need to be able to first have some kind of understanding of that pain and see the creation or what we have done in this whole scenario as for what it is, right? We have created something to grow, to move somewhere else. But until we are not taking ownership for that little thing, on why we are there where we are, we will not be able to get past that. And you see, I have seen this so many times now, where people are going in cycles. Now, this is not something where you are again at the same place. You're always moving somewhere, right? You're always going somewhere. This isn't about standing still. It may look like it, but it's not. We are always learning something from it. The question is, how long do you want to take the circle? And this is, again, it's not a blaming, it's a understanding part. It's a softening into our own inner world, how to soften when we feel not aligned with who we are, right? When we feel so much pain, when we feel so much suffering that we cannot evolve, we cannot move anywhere past that because it keeps coming back like a boomerang, right? We need to recognize what we are doing, right? What are you doing and how is your being, right? How is your being? And do they actually work together? Do they work together? See, there is another aspect which is about doing, and kind of like moving from one thing in the other and putting so much energy into this doing part. But you see, when we are hurt, this is very irrational. It has pretty much nothing to do with the doing part. I need to do more. I need to create more in the outer world. This has to do more with your being. This has to do way more with how you're feeling about yourself. It's not so much about the outside part, because the outside world will take it as you see yourself. You see, it's a direct mirror. I've seen this so many times now, so many times, where I'm like, you feel rejected, but you don't see that you reject yourself. What they are doing is they just give you the mirror. They just show you how you feel deep, deep inside. See, we cannot ask for someone else to love us if we are not ready to make a step towards that ourselves. We need to learn to level that up, to be calm in ourselves and to soften. We need to soften into our body. You know, don't be everywhere else. Come back into this. Come back in your body and feel. It's not who you are, but this is the way how we create. If you're creating your life from some kind of, let's say, ego place, right? Again, this word doesn't mean any negative, okay? I don't want you to feel like, oh my God, I'm a human being and I'm in this ego crap. I just want to be outside and do, I don't know. This is not it. It's really about coming back home, because home is here. Home is wherever you are. Home is here. Learning to come back to who you are and be present in it. Be present in who you are in this very moment, knowing that you can change. That's not the problem, right? It's about, are you willing to take the responsibility? Are you willing to take ownership for what you're doing, right? In the outside and in the inner world, right? Are you ready to sit down with yourself and ask your body what's going on, right? So instead of always being in the outside world and sharing all your story, do you understand your own story? Do you understand what it means to you? And it's often irrational. It's not about, oh, I shouldn't feel this because I have everything, or I'm this or I'm that. That's a wound too. If we want to go more into a blissful life, a life that is actually fulfilling us, right? Where we feel aligned with our heart, right? With our soul, with our body. We need to include that in the work, in this inner work. We need to start to learn to work with it and not against it. And if we start to share messages that are just reproducing something we actually don't want because we are unconscious of what we are putting out there, we are creating more pain for us. More. The more we go inwards and then share what is up, right? Share how you feel about it, but don't place it and say something like, you know, this world is really me, and have your moment and sharing that with someone else. I would suggest that that's totally okay that you feel that way. Instead, go inwards first and hug yourself and be there for yourself. Look that you share the love from your heart to yours first. And then you can share the message and say, listen, I just fell into this and I felt so sorry for myself. You know, there is a different frequency in that. There is an empowered frequency. I want you to feel empowered because you are. You are a magical being, ready to create, ready to be, right? But if we are standing all the time in lack and sharing that lack from a really low self-esteem point, low self-worth point, we are reproducing something we don't want, because the voice is very, very powerful, very powerful. How you speak, how you are saying things, and then the action towards that, right? For example, I'm saying, I feel so sorry because, I messed up my relationship again, and this guy, and he's such an idiot, he betrayed me, and blah, 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 all of that, right? And when we are looking back into your history, maybe this has been 100 times the same thing. But you need to understand that not everyone lives your experience. So if not everyone lives your experience, how come you're living it? How come? Start to discover. Start to empower yourself. Start to work, right? Start to work on yourself. Don't let someone else trying to move into your field. Call your soul back in, right? Call your soul back in and stop being everywhere. Come back home, here. You don't need to go out there. That's the second step, third step even, okay? Come back here first, before you do anything, before you speak, before you are producing anything. Start to come back to yourself. Be present in who you are at this moment. You don't need to be anyone else. You don't need to go anywhere else. Just sit with yourself and be present. If this has actually resonated with you, I'm opening up 2 slots for a yearly coaching program that involves exactly what we're doing here, personalized to your own story, personalized to what you're going through in the exact moment. If this is something that you feel called to, then go ahead and fill out that application form. We will then have first some discovery call, or one discovery call that will allow you to share what you're looking for. I want you to be so present in what you want to achieve. I want you to be so clear that you can have a life that has more bliss, that has more joy in it, more love. But you gotta be ready to work on yourself. You gotta be ready to do this inner work. Okay? With this said, thank you so much, and we see each other soon.